What is the custom of being married to only one person at a time?
Monogamy.
What do we measure with units like liter?
Volume, capacity.
What are the units like grams and kilograms used to measure?
Weight, mass.
In which style of swimming do you swim lying on your back?
Backstroke.
What do we call the periods of time when schools and colleges are closed?
Vacation.
What does post mean in the word post-war?
After.
What do you eat when you are sick?
Medicine, pill, medication, tablet, drug.
What do we call the amount of profits that a company pays to people who own shares in the company?
Dividend, dividends.
What is the opposite of retail?
Wholesale.
How do we call a person who is about the same age?
Contemporary, peer.
What do we call a set of wires covered in plastic or rubber that carries electricity?
Cable.
What handicap equipment is used for broken legs?
Crutch, walking stick, cane.
Where do marine animals live?
Sea, ocean.
What do you call your cousin's father?
Uncle.
What are wine glasses and spectacles made of?
Glass.
What do you call the country where you were born?
Motherland, homeland.
What do we call the activity of taking out weeds from the ground?
Weeding.
What is the opposite of emigrate?
Immigrate.
What do we call the colored liquid for writing, drawing and printing?
Ink.
How do we describe things that are capable of being dissolved in a liquid?
Soluble, water-soluble.
How many months does a season have?
Three.
What is 1/4 of 100?
25.
Which one is renewable energy, solar power or fossil fuel?
Solar power.
How do we describe people who have or express great love of their country?
Patriotic, patriot, nationalist.
What do we call the jewelry worn around your wrist?
Bracelet.
What do we call a covering of very thin transparent material worn by a bride to hide her face?
Veil.
What do we call a picture painted on a wall?
Mural, fresco, wall painting.
What do we call a man of high social rank who had a duty to fight for his king in the Middle Ages?
Knight.
How do we describe the action of cooking something in hot fat or oil?
Fry, frying.
What do we call the creature who sucks the blood of living people in legends or horror stories?
Vampire.
What do we call the team competing against the host team in a race?
Away team, visiting team.
Which one is wholesome, poison or antibiotic?
Antibiotic.
What is the object that has 6 square sides?
Cube.
What is the back part of your foot that is below your ankle?
Heel.
What do we call the equipment used to make things look bigger?
Magnifier, microscope.
What do we call a small horse?
Pony.
How do we call animals or plants living or growing in natural conditions?
Wild.
What are the animals that prey on other animals for a living?
Predator.
What do we call a young cow?
Calf, calves.
What is the short form of a word or expression?
Abbreviation.
What do we call the people who speak the language of the place where they were born as a child?
Native speakers.
What is the term used to represent a period of 12 months?
Year.
What do we call the action when you take air or gas into your lungs as you breathe?
Inhale.
What do we call the long teeth of elephants?
Ivory, tusk.
What do we call the nails on the end of a cat's foot?
Claw, paw.
What do we call the daughter of the king or queen?
Princess.
How do we describe a person who is unable to speak?
Dumb, mute, tongueless.
What is the shape of a rugby?
Oval, ellipse.
Which kind of dance is related to swans?
Ballet.
What do we call the four-wheel vehicle that is pulled by one or more horses to carry people in the past?
Carriage.